I found my wedding ring in my best friend's pocket at my own rehearsal dinner. I've worn that ring on my finger every single day for 3 years. I know its weight. I know exactly how it catches the light when I hold my hand up in the morning. I know the tiny scratch on the inside of the band from the time I dropped it on the bathroom tile, and my heart stopped for a full second. So when I saw it, my ring, my exact ring, sitting in Marcus's jacket pocket at my own rehearsal dinner, I didn't question what I was seeing. I just stood there in the doorway of the coat room, holding 2 glasses of champagne, watching the man who had been my best friend for 11 years carefully fold a piece of paper and slide it into the same pocket where my ring had been sitting for God knows how long. He didn't see me. I backed out of that room, walked calmly to the bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the sink. The champagne glasses were still in my hands. Before I go any further, if this story is already hitting something for you, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your location in the comments. I love knowing where you all are when you're watching. I'm Delilah, I'm 32, and this is the story of how the 2 people I trusted most in the world had been living a completely different life behind my back, and how I made sure the truth came out at exactly the right moment. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this story doesn't start at the rehearsal dinner. It starts 3.5 years earlier, on a Tuesday night at a trivia bar downtown. His name was Ryan Calloway. Tall, easy smile, the kind of laugh that made strangers turn around just to see what was funny. We met during the music round. I was at a table with my coworkers. He was at the table next to us. He leaned over between questions and whispered the answer to a Fleetwood Mac lyric in my ear, and I pretended I already knew it. We were together within the month. Ryan was good to me, patient, steady. He showed up when he said he would, remembered the small things, called when something reminded him of me. After 2 relationships that had taught me not to expect much, Ryan felt like finally exhaling. Marcus had been my best friend since college. We'd been through everything together, bad breakups, cross-country moves, the year I lost my job and cried on his couch every Friday night while he made pasta and talked me back to level ground. There was never anything romantic between us. I want to be clear about that, because I know what some of you are already thinking. We had a friendship that felt more like family than most of my actual family. When I started dating Ryan, Marcus was the first person I told. He met Ryan 3 weeks in, over dinner at that Italian place on 5th. He shook Ryan's hand, looked at me across the table when Ryan went to the bathroom, and said, "I remember this exactly. She seems happy. Take care of that." Ryan nodded, like he understood exactly what Marcus was telling him. That was 3.5 years ago. Ryan proposed on a Sunday morning in our kitchen. No elaborate setup, no hidden camera, no scavenger hunt. He was making coffee. I was reading something on my phone. He set a mug in front of me, and when I looked up, he was holding a ring box. He said, "I've been trying to find the right moment for 6 months. There isn't a right moment. There's just now." I said yes before he finished the sentence. The ring was white gold with a small round diamond. Not flashy, not trying to be something it wasn't. Exactly like him. I called Marcus from the parking lot of the grocery store 20 minutes later, still shaking. He was laughing before I even finished telling him. Finally, he said, "I was starting to think I'd have to propose to you myself just to move things along." We set the wedding for 14 months out. A small venue, outdoor ceremony, nothing overwhelming. Marcus was Ryan's best man. My college roommate Petra was my maid of honor. The 4 of us had dinner together almost every week during the planning process. It felt like the life I'd been building was finally complete. The first time I noticed something was off, I dismissed it immediately, because that's what you do when the thing you're noticing involves 2 people you love, and a thought so dark you don't even want to let it take shape. It was a Saturday afternoon, 4 months before the wedding. Ryan and Marcus had gone to look at suits together. I was supposed to meet them for lunch after. I got there early and stood outside the restaurant window for a moment before going in. Ryan and Marcus were at the table, deep in a conversation I couldn't hear. Ryan had his hand flat on the table. Marcus had his hand over Ryan's, not the way men gesture when they're talking about something important. Still, deliberate. The way you hold someone's hand when something is being said that needs to be held. I stood outside for 5 seconds, maybe 6. Then Ryan glanced up and saw me through the window and waved, and Marcus sat back and smiled. And by the time I walked through the door, it looked like any other Saturday lunch. I told myself I'd imagined the weight of it. 2 weeks later, I found the first text. Ryan had left his phone on the counter to charge overnight. I wasn't snooping. I want to be honest about that. I was looking for my own phone in the morning, and they looked identical, face down in the dark. I picked up the wrong one. The screen lit up with a notification from Marcus. A time-stamped message from 11:47 p.m. the night before. I only saw the preview before the screen locked. 6 words. We need to figure this out. I set the phone down. My own phone was right beside it. I told myself there were 100 things that sentence could mean. A gift, a surprise, a best man speech that needed work, 1,000 ordinary things. I went to work, I came home. Ryan kissed me at the door. I made dinner. We watched something on TV. I didn't say anything, but I didn't forget. Over the next 2 months, I started paying attention in a way I never had before. Not obsessively, not with accusations, just noticing. The way Ryan's phone screen always went dark when I walked into the room. The way Marcus started finding reasons to cancel our group dinners. The way Ryan sometimes paused before he answered questions that should have had immediate answers. Small things. Things I could explain away one by one. But they were accumulating. I need to pause here for a second, because I know what it feels like to be in this moment, where you have a feeling that something is wrong but no proof, and the people around you would think you were paranoid if you said it out loud. If you've ever been in that position, where your gut is telling you one thing and your heart is trying to talk you out of it, drop a comment. Tell me what you did. Because what I did next is either the smartest thing I've ever done or the thing that would have broken me if I'd been wrong. I started documenting, not dramatically, not with hidden cameras or private investigators. I bought a small notebook, the kind that looks like a grocery list pad, and every time I noticed something that didn't sit right, I wrote it down. Date, time, what I observed, what was said. No interpretation, just facts. By the time we were 6 weeks from the wedding, I had 14 entries. Ryan and Marcus leaving a bar separately on a night when they'd arrived together, 30 minutes apart, no explanation offered. A hotel points notification email that came to our shared account. Ryan and I had linked our travel rewards, showing a check-in at a hotel 20 minutes from our apartment on a Wednesday afternoon when Ryan had told me he was working late. A voicemail Marcus left on my phone by accident. 3 seconds of background noise before he hung up. I wouldn't have thought anything of it, except that the background noise was a hotel lobby. I know the sound of hotel lobbies. The specific echo of a large tiled room. The ambient hum of an elevator bank. I didn't confront anyone. I kept planning the wedding. I kept having dinners. I kept watching. I want to be clear about something. During those weeks, there were moments when I was certain I was building a case out of nothing. That I had taken the happiness I'd found and was quietly dismantling it because some part of me believed I didn't deserve it. I almost talked myself out of everything I'd gathered. And then came the rehearsal dinner. The venue was a private dining room at a restaurant downtown. 30 people, family, wedding party, close friends. The mood was warm and loud, and full of the kind of joy that feels like the last night before something permanently changes. I was wearing a champagne silk dress. My hair was up. I felt genuinely, completely happy for most of that evening. That's the part I want you to hold on to. That I was happy, right up until I wasn't. An hour in, I went to refill our champagne. The coat room was just off the main hallway, a small room where the staff had put everyone's bags and jackets. I was cutting through it on my way back from the bar because it was faster. Marcus's jacket was hanging on the end of the rack. I knew it because it was distinctive, a dark navy blazer he'd had for years, the one he wore to every event that required something better than a t-shirt. The pocket was open, not searching, not looking. The pocket was simply open, and when I glanced over, I saw it. White gold, small round diamond, a scratch on the band I knew by feel. My ring. I stood there for what felt like a very long time. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway, backed out of the room, and kept walking with the champagne glasses like nothing had happened. In the bathroom, sitting on the edge of the sink, I ran through every possible explanation. Maybe Ryan had asked Marcus to hold it for some reason. Maybe there was a planned moment tonight, a surprise renewal of the proposal, something romantic I wasn't aware of. Maybe, but the feeling in my chest wasn't the feeling you get when you're about to be surprised with something sweet. It was the feeling you get when a door opens and the room behind it is not what you expected at all. I looked at my left hand. My ring was there, on my finger, exactly where it had been all evening. I took it off and held it in my palm. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. I looked at the inside of the band. The scratch was there, from the bathroom tile, from 18 months ago. I thought about the ring in Marcus's pocket, the scratch I hadn't been close enough to see. I put my ring back on, walked back to the party, smiled at Ryan when he found me across the room, let him put his arm around me, laughed at his uncle's toast, and while everyone was celebrating around me, I took out the small notebook I always kept in my purse, and I wrote one final entry. That night, after the dinner, after Ryan fell asleep beside me, I lay in the dark and made a decision. Not a decision about what to do with what I'd found. A decision about how. Because the thing about being with someone who is lying to you is that when the truth finally comes out, you only get one chance to do it right. You can blow it open the moment you find out. All emotion and accusation and no proof, and watch it turn into your word against theirs. Or you can wait. I waited 4 more days. The morning of my wedding, I woke up at 6. Petra was asleep in the hotel room beside mine. The ceremony was at 4. I had 10 hours. I called my cousin Derek. Derek is an attorney, not a divorce attorney, corporate law, but he knows people, and more importantly, he understands how evidence works. I'd emailed him everything 2 nights earlier, the notebook entries, the hotel rewards notification screenshot, the voicemail Marcus had left by accident. And one more thing. After the rehearsal dinner, when Marcus hugged me goodbye, I had hugged him back carefully and said, "I think I left my lip gloss in your jacket pocket earlier when I was looking through the coats. Can I check?" He laughed and said, "Of course, go ahead." The ring was gone, but I ran my fingers along the lining of the pocket and felt a folded piece of paper, the same one I'd watched him put away earlier. I didn't take it. I photographed it through the fabric of my dress with my phone. The outline of the folds, the shape of it. Derek told me what I needed to know. He said, "You can leave, or you can have the conversation you deserve. But if you want it to be real, if you want it to matter, don't do it alone." He met me at the hotel at noon. I want to tell you what happened next very carefully, because this is the part that still plays back in my head sometimes, frame by frame, like a film I can't stop watching. At 2 o'clock, 2 hours before the ceremony, I asked Ryan to come to my room. I told him I needed help with something. He came in smiling, in his dress shirt, tie not yet on. Derek was sitting in the chair by the window. Ryan looked at him, and the smile didn't fade exactly. It reorganized. I placed my notebook on the bed between us. Open to the last entry, the one from the rehearsal dinner. I said, "I need you to tell me about the ring in Marcus's jacket pocket." The silence that followed lasted maybe 8 seconds. In 8 seconds, I watched Ryan's face move through 4 different expressions, and not one of them was confusion. If he had looked confused, genuinely, blankly confused, I might have doubted everything, but he didn't look confused. He sat down on the edge of the bed. And he told me the truth. Not all at once. Not cleanly. In pieces, the way confessions always come. The parts that are easier first, the harder parts pulled out one by one. But he told me. Ryan and Marcus had been in love with each other for over a year. It had started 8 months before the wedding, sometime in the fall, during a period when Ryan had told me he was going through something and needed space, and I had given him that space without asking too many questions. I had been proud of myself for that, for not being the kind of partner who pushed. The ring in Marcus's pocket. It wasn't my ring. It was an identical ring. One Ryan had bought. One he'd been carrying the weight of for months, not knowing what to do with it. I looked at the ring on my finger. Then, I looked at my husband, who was not yet my husband, sitting on the edge of the hotel bed, and I said one sentence. "I know about the hotel on Riverside Drive." He closed his eyes. I said, "I have the rewards notification. I have 14 entries in this notebook, and I have a photograph of the paper that was folded in Marcus's pocket at dinner on Friday. I don't know what's in it, but Derek is going to find out." Derek leaned forward slightly and said quietly, "You should know she has enough." Ryan didn't try to argue. He didn't apologize the way people apologize when they're trying to manage a situation. He apologized the way people apologize when they know there is nothing left to manage. He said, "You deserved so much better than this." I said, "I know. Here's the twist. The part I couldn't have predicted. The part that changed how I understood everything that had happened. The folded paper in Marcus's jacket pocket was not a love note. It was not a plan. It was not evidence of something I hadn't already found. It was a letter Marcus had written to me, addressed to me in his handwriting, dated 3 months earlier. He had written it and never sent it. He had been carrying it with him for 3 months. Derek found this out 2 days later when Marcus came to him voluntarily. He said he'd been trying to find a way to tell me himself. He had written the letter the night he understood that what was happening had crossed a line he couldn't walk back from. He'd written it 6 times. The version in his pocket was the one that had come closest to what he actually wanted to say. I never read it. That was my choice. My cousin offered to give it to me. I thought about it for a long time. I decided that whatever Marcus had written in that letter could not give me back the 11 years of friendship I had believed in. It could tell me how he felt. It could not change what he had done. And I had spent enough time in that story. I did not walk down the aisle that afternoon. We told the guests there would be no ceremony. Ryan's mother cried. My mother held my hand very tightly and didn't say anything for a long time, which was the most comforting thing anyone could have done. Petra sat with me on the hotel room floor until midnight, and we ordered French fries from room service, and she never once said I told you so, even though I found out later she'd had a feeling for months. Marcus sent one text 3 days after. 2 sentences. I am so sorry. You didn't deserve any of this. I read it once. I didn't respond. The security deposit on the venue was non-refundable. The flowers were donated to a nursing home downtown. The dress is in the back of my closet. I haven't decided what to do with it yet. I'm not going to tell you I moved on quickly or that everything resolved neatly. It didn't. There were months that were very hard, and mornings that started badly, and moments when the grief hit sideways when I wasn't expecting it. Grief for the relationship, yes, but mostly grief for the version of my life I had believed I was building, for the friendship I thought I had. What I will tell you is this. The notebook was the thing that saved me. Not saved me from the situation. That was already what it was. But it saved me from the version of this story where I found out at the worst possible moment, unprepared, alone, with nothing but emotion and no foundation under me. I had built a foundation, quietly, methodically, while still showing up every day and being the person everyone expected me to be. That's the kind of strength that doesn't look like strength from the outside. It looks like a woman going about her life, planning her wedding, smiling at rehearsal dinners. But on the inside, she already knows. I'm 32. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment that I've made exactly the way I want it. I have a dog named Birch. I go to trivia nights again. Different bar, different team. Last month I came in 2nd place on the music round. I've learned something I want to pass on to you before I go. When your gut tells you something, it is not paranoia. It is not insecurity. It is not you sabotaging your own happiness. Your gut is your oldest and most loyal friend, and it was built to protect you. Listen to it. Document what you see. Don't blow it up before you're ready. Wait until you have the floor. And when you finally speak, make sure you only have to say it once. I'm Delilah, and that is my story. If any part of this felt familiar, if you're in the middle of something you can't quite name yet, leave a comment. I read every single one. You're not alone in this. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. I've linked something in the description from a woman who found out the truth at an even more impossible moment. She handled it better than anyone I've ever heard of. See you in the next one.